the Italian Football Podcast.
Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of the Italian Football Podcast. I'm Carlo Garganese, joined as always by Nima and Carlo. What a show we have for you for today. A legendary derby d'Italia between Inter and Juventus. I can't believe I'm actually saying this. Finished 4-4, an 8-goal thriller in what will go down in history as one of the greatest and most chaotic Serie A matches of all time. There's so much to talk about there. The winners, though, of the weekend are Napoli, who pulled clear at the top of the table as they win again against Lecce, with match winner Giovanni Di Lorenzo also now back to his best. Atalanta are in great form. They are pushing very hard at the top as they hit Verona for 6, with Mateo Retegui already up to double figures for the season. Can anybody stop him from taking the Capocannoniere crown? Lazio win again. They're doing really, really well. But Roma are in complete crisis with Ivan Juric now on the brink of the sack, and Daniele De Rossi potentially being brought back after a 5-1 thrashing by a Fiorentina team who are also in amazing form. We will ask the question whether the Friedkins, the owners, should look to sell the club now, because that club is a complete mess. We will also preview the midweek round in Serie A, which includes an absolutely massive game between Milan and Napoli. Milan not playing this weekend after their match was postponed, also in very chaotic circumstances. We'll also have the usual Baggio, Premface and Serie Ass of the week. For all our first-time listeners, this is our free weekly episode that we do every Monday, reviewing the weekend Serie A action and all the biggest talking points in Italian football. If you want to support the Italian Football Podcast and receive all of our content that we do throughout the week, including a weekly Q&A episode every Tuesday where we answer all the questions from our Patreons, plus the weekly Thursday midweek review show, plus interviews, post-match reaction and much, much more, then go to patreon.com/TIFP and become a subscriber for just $2.99 a month plus VAT. You can also sign up to be a paid subscriber on Spotify. We've got the link in the description. Same price and terms. For all of you that do listen on Spotify, Apple and iTunes podcasts, we'd really appreciate if you give us a 5-star rating, give us a follow and a like. Also, please do subscribe to us on YouTube. We've been doing that for around a year, and we do put content out there that isn't elsewhere. That really also helps us to grow and do more content for you guys. Okay then, let's get into today's show. So only one place to start. What a match. Absolute thriller at San Siro. 4-4 between Inter and Juventus. Before we actually talk about Inter, before we talk about Juve, and there's so much to talk about for both teams, which we'll break it down team by team. First of all, though, Nima, this is one of the greatest Serie A games of all time. Yes, the defending was bad.
There was
very
no
bad,
defending.
And we'll get
when something doesn't exist, it can't be bad.
Yeah.
There was no defending.
Okay, we'll get to that. But if we talk about this first just as a spectacle for the neutrals, for those that are not traditional or regular Serie A fans watching this game, I mean, what a game to watch. I mean, it had everything. It ebbed and flowed. It had comebacks. It had missed chances. It had 2 penalties. It had great goals. It was an unbelievable match for the neutral, wasn't it?
Oh, it was. If you're talking advert for Serie A in terms of for the neutral and casual that wants entertainment, you can't get any better than that. It was insane. Packed San Siro, evening game. Two of the biggest teams in the world, two of the biggest clubs in world football, not just historically and not just in Italy, going at each other back and forth, all the subplots, crazy goals, crazy mistakes, drama, teenagers coming on from the bench and scoring a brace to show to show that they are the future. And it was crazy. It had everything. It literally had everything. And for me, if one thing that we have been speaking about this weekend was good by the referees. There's just one game where it was a horrid mistake by a referee, but other than that, I think this was back to the first six match days. This was overall a very high refereeing round. The Napoli game was insane. That one of the most blatant penalties I've ever seen in my life was not given for Napoli in that game. But other than that, this weekend was back to where we were before, and I'm happy about that. And this game was not decided or impacted at all by the referee, who actually had struggled in the Champions League and was very criticized after Atletico Madrid game by Atletico Madrid, correctly so. But he got his shit together here, and it was a very, very good game. So I'm very happy about that. No, it was mental. There's no other way to put it. There was, I don't even know where to begin. I mean, it's such an impossible game to analyze, other than the first 2 minutes. Juve wanted to show who they were, then Inter took over and worked themselves in, and then from the 15th minute on, until when Inter got that penalty, until the 93rd minute when the game ended, they just went crazy. The game just went completely haywire. And you just felt that this could have ended 8-8, 6-6. It was crazy, completely crazy.
Yeah, have a look at the XGs of both teams. It's like 3 each or something. It's mad, absolutely mad game. It was an unbelievable match. I was hungover, so I actually it was really enjoyable for me. Sat back and just enjoyed it. But it was yeah. I mean, when I think back to like the greatest games that I've watched, probably some of the games in the 90s and 2000s were of a higher quality because the defending wasn't as bad. But I'm thinking of like the 5-4 game, Roma 4 Inter 5. That immediately comes to mind.
Roy Hodgson was in charge of Inter then, if I remember.
I'm thinking Lazio 4, Milan 4. I'm thinking what other games? Juventus 3, Fiorentina 2. That immediately comes to mind. The Del Piero goal. I mean, it's up there, I think, with those matches.
I think it's the most entertaining, like for sheer entertainment. This was the most entertaining game in the Serie A in the last 5-10 years. I can't think of a game that's more entertaining than this. This was this had everything. It was just back and forth, and it felt like it went on forever as well. Like I was looking at the watch, like I was like, is it only the 70th minute? Like there was so much so much had happened by the 70th minute that it just felt like, oh, we got 20 more minutes of this.
Yeah.
It was crazy, absolutely mental. And you look at, like you said, the stats were insane. I mean, 18 shots to 10. Like, what? And it's
nobody predicted this, Nima, did they?
No, absolutely.
Everybody had. What did everybody have? Probably 1-0 or 1-1 or
0-0,
1-1. I had a 1-goal win for Inter, but a low-scoring 1-goal win.
No, I had 1-0, 1-1, 2-1. 0-0, something like that. No one had this. No one saw this coming. No one saw this coming.
It was incredible. But let's break this down team by team, and we will talk a lot about defending for both teams because both defenses were equally bad in this game. But let's start with Inter first. Let's start with Inter as the home team. I mean, first of all, let's start with the defending with Inter. Let's start with the bad with Inter because I actually thought there was more negatives for Inter in the bigger picture than there was for Juventus. But I'll explain my reasons why when we get to Juventus. But let's start with the defending for Inter. What the hell happened to Inter's defending in this game?
What happened was what we've seen all season. This wasn't new. It was conceding chances in areas that you just cannot concede. You cannot concede shots and chances that centrally, especially in the first half. The movement, the structure, they didn't have any. That's what annoys me. Where De Vrij is, where Zielinski is, where Pavard is, where they all are. It's as if they've decided that they're not, like, they hadn't spoken on how to defend. There was no structure at all. Stefan De Vrij, we know when the ball is put behind him, he struggles. And he did so again for the first goal. The second goal, Francisco Conceição made Mkhitaryan look old, very old. and just pull down his pants. But he shouldn't be in that position to begin with. There was no structure defensively from Inter. And I think I've got a theory as to why that is, because it's not. We're 9 Serie A games now into the season. We are three games in the Champions League. Inter have conceded 13 goals in the Serie A. That's 9 less than they conceded all season last year.
That's insane.
So this and it's not just this game. I look at this season so far as the way that it's more, people are drawing similarities to Simone Inzaghi's second season, but I think that's completely wrong. I'm drawing similarities to his first season, where he unleashed Inter's firepower. He from day one, and I felt that Inter weren't balanced. The difference is, of course, that this is a far, far superior team to that Inter of his first season in terms of personnel and firepower and midfield and depth and everything. But I think there's a reason for that. He's done this. I think the mistake was the preseason. They overworked the players. I think the mistake was Lautaro coming back and cutting his holiday short after the Coppa America. It was, a very honorable thing to do, but it was a mistake. He should have rested, because he is a symbol, an embodiment of everything that's wrong with Inter now. They don't have 90-minute fitness in them. They look slow. They look sluggish. They look unfit. They look disjointed. But they have individual quality and individual skill to win games on their own and to create moments of magic. That they have. But as a unit, there is no unit. There is no balance whatsoever. They're not there. I mean, Inter conceded 4 goals from open play yesterday. Juventus had 5 shots on target. 4 were goals. And all 4 of them were you can't blame Sommer for a single one of those goals, because his defense just wasn't there. And
I thought the second Yildiz goal, the 4-4 goal, I don't blame some of that, because it came through the defender's legs, and anybody that's played knows that if it goes through the defender's legs, it's always very, very difficult for the goalkeeper. I don't blame him for it, but you could say maybe, a top goalkeeper on the peak of his form, maybe he saves that, because he gets 2 hands to it and it goes under him. But I definitely don't blame him for it. But generally speaking, I agree with the point.
I think it's obvious, because that, and I think the reason for this is, like I said, the preseason, they overworked them. They were counting on they think that the calculation was 11-month season, longest season of the year, right? So we need to really, really have everyone going, and then of course you had the Euros and the Coppa America, so the players were already tired. I think we've seen that from match day 1. It's not the same Inter as last season. Last season, this Inter would never have conceded 2 goals, much less 4, and they would have won that 2-0. They would have closed the game away, because they were so solid, and because they had the energy to do the hard work without possession. All the team did as a unit, cohesively. This year, they don't do it. They have it for about 40, 50 minutes, but then they can't do it. And Inzaghi's not stupid. He knows this. His post-match comments to me add fuel to this fire, when he says things like, we had 8, we could have scored 8 goals. That tells me where his mind is. He wants his Inter to, right now, to win games 6-4, 8-3, 8-7. Like, we're going to concede, but we're going to score more than the opposition. Now, this is not, I don't think this is a long-term strategy. I think his thinking is, until the team recovers and we're in a good phase where we are match fit, and I can then have them doing that work. Right now, what I can do is, because they don't have the energy and they're all getting injured with muscle injuries, which are all down to being overworked, what can I do? Well, I need to unleash their firepower, and that's what he's doing. And so far, it's worked all right. I mean, I'm not one of those who thinks, I don't think it's tenable long term. Absolutely not. To win the Scudetto or win anything. but we're on match day 9, and I think when you're in the preliminary stages of the season, and you have these energy issues, and it's not just energy, it's a mental exhaustion as well. I think it's it's okay to do that, but the thing is that it's a risk, because once you do that, it becomes more difficult to kind of bring everything back together. But I assume he trusts his players, and I assume that he knows that, okay, once I have them in peak match fitness, then we can go back to doing what we're doing. Because to be fair to him, we did see Inter defend extremely well against Man City in the Champions League, where they didn't do anything. They were outstanding. They outrun, outfought, outthought, did everything they were supposed to do in that game defensively. They were fantastic. It was the Inter of last season. It's the only time this season that we've seen the Inter of last season. But that's where I see that Inter are right now, and that's, I'm basing that on the 9 games I've seen in the Serie A, and it's a bit, when you do that against the big teams like Milan, like Juve, Roma, Napoli, etc. in the Serie A, you will struggle to beat them, because the Serie A is again a league where whoever is the most prudent defensively wins the big games, and as a result and as a consequence, the title. And I think the same could be said about Juve as well, who, unlike Inter, have been very prudent defensively until the last week, where they are just completely open from Stuttgart to the Derby d'Italia game.
Yeah, I mean,
look, if we're going to talk about the individuals,
let me stop you there on Inter. With the defending as a whole, which I agree with generally. I mean, it's 13 goals in 9 games is I mean, for Inter, that's shocking. But I do think that and I've said this all season, I think the midfield is not helping Inter. I said it in our preview. I also went on to Uncle Sharma's channel and I said it on there as well, and Sharma agreed with me that my biggest disappointment of Inter this season has been the midfield. The lack of ability to the inability to control games this season, which we again saw in this game as well, and also the pressure that is actually the extra pressure that is putting on the defence and making it more difficult for the defence. This isn't something that can just be put on the defenders not playing well enough. This is a collective thing, and in this particular game, it's not his fault, because obviously Çalhanoğlu's out, and then Çalhanoğlu's out.
Asllani is not doing,
and then Asllani wasn't fit enough to start. So you've got both your players there. Zielinski had a shocker. I mean, he scored the 2 penalties, but as a protective midfielder, doing the job of protecting the defence,
he didn't protect the midfield. He didn't protect the defence.
He was awful, and that put
he was great going forward.
But that put so much pressure on the defence. There were so many transitions, especially in the first half, where and we'll come to you, but I thought that tactically Motta outcoached Inzaghi in the first half, despite losing 3-2 at half time. On the transitions and cutting through and finding those spaces in the gaps in between the defence and the midfield. And I mean, Zielinski, I mean, it's not really his fault, it's not his role, but I would have played Barella again there. I especially would have put Barella there in the second half when you're 4-2 up and you just need to manage the game. And you can already see how much you struggled in that area in the first half. I think I put that on Inzaghi as well. He should have just moved Barella there, played Zielinski a little bit further forward, and just shut down the game at 4-2, because that's also unforgivable. To be 4-2 up, and Inter were on top in the second half. Inter were the better team in the second half. But Juventus were the better team overall play. First half, second half, Inter were in control. They went 4-2 up. You think there's no way that Juventus are going to come back.
Well, that's not what I thought at all. What I thought, and I tweeted as much, is this game can finish 4-4, because Inter were not in control of that game. Inter created chances. They created chance after chance after chance. Dumfries missed a sitter. Lautaro missed. Great saves by Di Gregorio on long shots from Di Marco, from Barella, but Inter were not in control.
They were never in control.
And I tweeted, they were absolutely not in control. No one was in control of that game.
No, they weren't in control. But they were
anyone was in control of that game.
What I'm saying is they were the better team in the second half. But
they created more chances. I don't know if they were the better team. I think they created more better chances.
Until Yildiz came on, Juventus weren't creating anything second half. Until Yildiz came on. So my overall point is, Zielinski was struggling, and it seemed to be quite proven in this game that he was unable to protect the defence and help the defence. At 4-2 up, Inzaghi should have been more pragmatic and just said, you know what, let's put Barella in front of the defence because he's going to be able to shore things up and stop us from conceding and being so open. Because it's unforgivable to concede those goals to be so open in the way that you concede those two goals. So I think it's a collective thing, but it's also on the lack of protection from the central defensive midfield.
There is no, it's they're just not there. And Zielinski as a regista works if you're playing against Empoli and Venezia, but it doesn't work against Juve. And I think Inzaghi needs to understand that. And what the thing is that it can work if you have a team that is fit mentally and physically so that they can run and cover for one another. Inter aren't there. They just are not there. And they this season so far, they're not there. And Mkhitaryan, I think, is also another brilliant example. Torrid first half. Brilliant individual skill for the goal. Although Juve's defense is just embarrassing ball watching. But it was great. It was a fantastic.
That was actually the one goal I don't like. I go a little bit easy on Juve for I thought it was a brilliant goal. I thought it was a brilliant team goal. The passing, the
passing was fantastic. But if you look at the movement from Danilo and Kalulu, they were ball watching like children. It was embarrassing. The defense was embarrassing for both teams. But regardless, Mkhitaryan, same thing there. He did not. He looked out of it. He looked unfit. He couldn't keep up with the pace. But he scored a brilliant individual goal. Like, again, this Inter this season is a team that's mentally and physically a bit drained. They worked them wrong. They prepared them wrongly, in my opinion. Overworked them in the first half, in the summer, in the preseason. And so now they're playing catch up. And the best way to play catch up from Inzaghi's perspective is, okay, until we do reach those fitness levels that we will reach down the road, when Çalhanoğlu's back, when everyone is back, then attack is the best defense. Now, I agree with you on the face of things of this game. I think it would have been better to play Zielinski as a mezzala. However, let's remember, Zielinski asked to be taken off because he was feeling fatigued. And that's why he was taken off and replaced by Fratesi, who in turn had was left midweek with an ice pack on his leg. So the energy levels and the fatigue levels is a real thing. And that was a game where Carlos Augusto he's gone for at least 4 or 5 weeks with a muscle tear. Like, again, they have been wrong. They've not trained them well. They've overtrained them in the summer, and it's starting, and it's showing so far. But overall, I think it's not
the end of the world.
It's not the end of the world, for the simple reason that Inter are just 4 points behind Napoli. We're on match day 9. These issues can be fixed. We know that Inter can play that like that. But what needs to happen, and what absolutely has to, the most important thing is Lautaro Martinez Inter need to get Lautaro back into shape, because yesterday he was frustrating to watch. He looks fat and slow. He looks like a sack of potatoes on the pitch. like a 10-kilo sack of potatoes thrown onto the floor. That's how he moves.
I love that.
And it's like...
I'm laughing because that's the term that my parents used to use when I was at lower school. Whenever there was like a little podgy kid who they say, "Oh, that kid." I know it's not nice, is it? But say, "Oh,
no, it's. I think it's but sack of potatoes is something that we say in Iran as well.
It's like, brilliant. It's a brilliant insult.
Yeah.
Really
but he moves like a sack of 10-kilo potatoes. Like, it's just.
I think the reason is, like, exactly as you said, is the amount of games he's playing. He's averaging 50 games a season, club games, that is, every single season since the pre-COVID season. And when you add that, as I go on and on about every single, when you add in that there's been no rest since before COVID, there's been no summer or proper seasonal or summer rest for the players since COVID, then eventually it does take its toll, especially when you cut your holiday short.
Look at it now. 18-19 season, he's played club games 35. Following season 49, then 48, then 49. In 22-23, 57.
Yeah.
Last season, 44. Like, that's
Yeah.
just club games for Inter. That's not even counting Argentina.
No.
It's just
Yeah, and then you've got the World Cup. You've got
2 Copa
how many
Americas,
conferences?
3 Copa
They play
Americas,
Coppa
sorry.
Americas every day now in
Yeah.
South America.
3 Copa Americas and what? 1 World Cup?
Yeah.
It's he is getting overworked, but they need to manage his fitness levels, and I know that he's one of those players that they struggle with generally anyway. And then of course you got Acerbi gone as well. No, look, I think I understand. I think why he didn't, the Zielinski point. I understand why Inzaghi didn't play Barella as a regista. Because he felt that Barella gives more control. Because when you've got Denzel Dumfries on the right, who actually had a decent game, but he's still Denzel Dumfries. He still doesn't know what positioning is, even though yesterday he was actually pretty good in positioning wise. But again, you saw for the last goal, he drops when he's not supposed to. He pushes. He's a funny guy. Like I don't even get upset anymore. I just laugh when he plays because he's like he does. He misses sitters. He trips over his own feet. He can't
But
receive the ball.
He got a goal and won a penalty, so I think he was in
Yeah,
his
but that's
game.
what I'm saying. Like he's and then he scores a fantastic finish. That was a good finish by him.
Yeah.
Like he just right there in the angle in the corner. Like he's a comedy player. I just laugh every time I see him. And again, I thought he had a good game overall by Dumfries standards. And I thought that in the first half, particularly, they used Dumfries really well. The fact that when he crosses the ball early behind the defense, he's actually really good, and his pushing and his aggression and his physique and his physical ability and his mental strength is really good, and he's a fighter. Dumfries is a fighter, but it is what it is. And Darmian can't play week in week out at this age. So, you're just going to have to hope, sometimes you just got to hope for the best. And that's a little bit what Inter are right now. And they do have the quality to oversee these teams. But long term, especially if you're going to play, in the Serie A, this is going to hurt them. But I mean, it feels incredibly disingenuous to, after Inter lost the derby in a really poor performance. They've been on a 5-game winning streak. Attacking wise, they were very good against Juve, even though they missed quite a bit. A draw against Juve is not the end of the world, and they do have the quality to win these small games so far. Now you got Empoli and Venezia; they have to win those. Then it's Arsenal and Napoli, baptism by fire again before the international break, and somewhere there, Inter can't, Inter pretty much they have to win against Venezia and Empoli, and then if they can do something against Napoli and then turn, even though it's 3-4 days after the Arsenal game, that's what I'm looking at. I'll know where Inter are this season by midnight on the 10th Central European time, 10th of November, because then I'll know how they behaved against Arsenal, and more importantly, how they reacted 4 days later against Napoli. I personally think if I'm Antonio Conte, I am thrilled when I saw that game yesterday, and I'm thinking I can actually do a miracle here.
Yeah. Well, let's move on to Juventus because for me, I look at it. I look for Juventus more that the glass is half full from Juventus's point of view, and the reason for that is, and we will get to the defending and how bad the defending was in a little bit, but to start with the positives with Juventus, whereas with Inter, I like to start more with the negatives because that's just how I see things between where the two clubs are in their development right now. With Juventus, I think that if you ignore the defending, this was actually like a really, really positive performance for Juve when you consider just how decimated they were for this game. I mean, no Bremer, Coop Miners, Nico Gonzalez, Douglas Luiz as well, and Gatti not fit to start, which I kind of half predicted as well. That's why he didn't play against Stuttgart, and it's why he didn't go to the international break. They're managing kind of an injury with him. It's not quite clear what, but my understanding is they're managing his condition at the moment, which means you have to play Danilo, who we'll get to, don't worry. And I think that it was very, very positive to see them go toe-to-toe with Inter away at the San Siro like this. I think that's very encouraging. I thought that in the first half, despite going 3-2 behind at half time, I thought that Motta actually outthought tactically Inzaghi in the first half. I mean, it was just really defensive brain farts to concede two stupid, ridiculous penalties that they gave away. Just catastrophic defending to give away those penalties. Otherwise, tactically, they had Inter's number. They were really causing Inter so many problems. As we discussed when we discussed Zielinski, getting in between the lines, especially they were targeting the Motta was targeting Inter's left flank, and Conceição was causing so many problems. Every time he got the ball, he was getting, Di Marco was a little bit too far forward, and then the when he was running at players, they were so scared of him. And Weah was doing really, really well. He scored and he nearly scored another goal with a great curler. Even Vlahovic was doing quite well. Vlahovic's movement was actually pretty decent in this game. I mean, if we saw the way that his movement for his goal was pretty good. He saw that the ball over to McKennie, he'd already moved to create space for himself to then have the tap in. I thought that in the first half, Motta really, I don't want to go as far as saying out-coached Inzaghi, but he outperformed Inzaghi in that first half tactically. I thought his selections and his substitutions paid off as well. I mean, he started Weah on the left wing instead of Yildiz. Yildiz had been in really bad form going into this game and probably been overworked as well, overplayed. Weah started on the left, and I've been quite a harsh critic of Weah and McKennie. He started McKennie at number 10. The two Americans really did well in this game. Weah scored one, he nearly scored a second, and then Motta makes a decision to bring on Yildiz, as well as some other kind of attacking substitutions like Mbangula, and they started to cause into real problems in that last kind of 15 minutes to rescue the game. So I think that there's lots of positives to take from there. Also, from Motta's point of view, I know some are going to criticise him for the use of Danilo, but he was kind of forced to use him because Gatti wasn't fit enough to start. I mean, who else do you use? So that's from a team point of view and from the manager's point of view, I'm very happy with what I saw from Juventus' point of view. Then there was good individual performances. I thought Conceição showed again, like what a great talent he is. I mean, he caused all kinds of problems. Inter couldn't handle him at all. Every time he picked up the ball, he was running at them. He was beating men. He got a great assist. I thought Vlahovic did better. We've been very, very critical of him. I don't want to say he's outstanding, but I thought he did his job well in this game. He scored. He never scored in San Siro. He broke that jinx. And the Americans, as I said, the Americans were good in this game. And I've been the biggest critic. I've really laid into them, especially McKennie. McKennie got 2 assists. He is very good at kind of getting into those positions, attacking the space, and he showed composure as well for that assist for Vlahovic. And then of course there's Yildiz, who we have to talk about Yildiz, because he has been very heavily criticised, singled out probably a little bit unfairly for a 19-year-old, but the fact remains he hadn't scored in Serie A this season, and his numbers hadn't been good enough this season. And then he comes on and he scores two great finishes. He probably should have had a hat-trick. Probably his easiest chance was the one he put over from Savona's cross. He could have had a hat-trick. I mean, Yildiz definitely, he showed like anyone that says, Yildiz is overrated and all this and that, you saw his talent. This is a player that's going to be a top player.
As I said on my post-match reaction, last night a star was born. Kenan Yildiz is a star. And we saw a star being born. And we saw a star being born after, as I said on my post-match reaction for patrons only, it was when, even at the age of 19, when you're unfairly criticized and targeted, as Yildiz was, and we both said it last week, when you come on as a substitute in that situation and you perform and score a brace, that only special players do that. And you do that at 19. And I think Conceição and Yildiz, well, both of them last night showed that they are, for me, more Yildiz more than Conceição. But they showed that the future is bright for Juve in attack, because those two players especially Yildiz, what a player he is. What a magical little player he is. Him and Arda Güler, what have Turkey got going on? These two little teenagers. They are just, it's just stunning to watch. The way he holds the ball, the way he caresses the ball, like it just he's a superstar. The way that the beautiful, elegant way that he when he gets the ball, you just feel something's going to happen. He's going to do something. He's got that aura about him, that zest about him, and it was truly remarkable. He's a fantastic player. He's a fantastic talent, and Thiago Motta is managing him perfectly and knowing what to do with him, and he seems mature enough to handle things properly. This is how you respond to your critics. You come on as a substitute in the Derby d'Italia where you score 2 goals and you rescue a point for your team. That's how you show that you are ready to be a pillar at a big club.
That shows mental strength as well.
That shows mental strength, that shows quality, that shows everything you want to see from a star. And yesterday, in my opinion, a new star was born on the Serie A.
Yeah, and also just adding on that about his mental strength, I would extend that to the team as a whole as well, because, Juventus are 4-2 down at San Siro, and also the way that they went 4-2 down in that, they're 2-1 up. They've recovered from 1-0 down. They've turned the game around. They're 2-1 up. They're things are looking really, really good. And then to be struck by a double sucker punch like that with a great Mkhitaryan goal, kind of almost, unexpected in the way that it was such a great team move. And then to then concede another disastrous penalty to go 3-2 down just minutes later after that, then to go 4-2 down with the goal from Dumfries, and then Inter maybe could have finished off the game at that point. And you're thinking, you're really, it looks unlikely you're going to get anything on that. And then to show the fight and the mental qualities to come back and rescue a draw against the champions, 4-2 down, your rivals, with a young team as well. I mean, I think that was really, really impressive. And it's not the first time we've seen these fighting qualities. Obviously, the best example of that is the game against Leipzig when they're 2-1 down and a man down, and they come back and they win that game. They showed incredible fight. So that shows that, again, that Motta is instilling, which is why I'm positive for the future Juventus, because you can see what he's building there. And so that's very, very positive. So I'm looking at this more as the glass half full, but we do, of course, have to talk about the defending, because just like Inter's defending, I mean, Juventus's defending is an absolute, it's a horror show in this game. I mean, considering that they'd only conceded 1 goal in 8 games in Serie A before this, to then concede 3 in one half and 4 in this match as a whole, but it's the manner of the goals that they concede, which is what is worse. I mean, I'm not as critical on the Mkhitaryan goal, but the 2 penalties are just a joke. I mean, honestly, that's the kind of stuff you if you saw that walking your dog on a Sunday morning and in a pub league at Bedford Park, you'd laugh. You'd laugh at Danilo swiping his leg, not seeing the guy behind him like a drunk, and like he's just had a night out the night before, and kicks at him. And then the Kalulu one, in some ways,
even funnier.
Some ways, even worse.
That's even funnier for me.
He just swipes his leg.
It looked like he kicked him in the ass. Like when I first saw that, I was like, "Why is he kicking him in the butt?"
I know. Just like swiped straight through them. I should just clear up some, because I have seen some people saying, "Oh, well, he handballed it." The thing is, he kicks him just before he handballs it. If he'd done it, if he'd handballed it first, then it's not a penalty; it's a handball. So that's why it was a penalty. But I mean, even still, it's comical.
I burst out laughing because it's Dumfries as well, and Danilo and Kalulu, and it's like that entire action was just comedy. I think that summed up that game, the quote unquote organization of that game. It was calamity. It was pub defending. Sunday league drunkards, university students smoking on the pitch defending. Like literally, that's how it looked when.
I'm thinking of like 40-year-olds like that.
Yeah, still, that's when he kicked him. I was like, what the hell did he just do? I couldn't believe it. Like what? And I was thinking the only way this doesn't become a penalty is if it touched Dumfries' hands first, and it didn't. It literally was just a fraction, but it was calamitous. It was a joke.
It is. It's absolutely awful. It's just
It was like
you can't
cartoonish.
believe at this level that you're seeing defending.
That's exactly my reaction. I could not believe that at this level you see defending like that.
Yeah.
It was
And then the
cartoonish.
Dumfries goal, what the hell is that? I mean, it's from a corner. He's left all on his own at the back post in acres of space. And he has the time even to control it first. Doesn't even hit it first time. He controls it and then he shoots. And it's a great finish, but there's never in a million years that should he have the time to for starters, you shouldn't be all alone, but you should not have the time to take the ball down and shoot it. I mean, that's just horrific defending. So, I mean, 3 of the 4 goals are just huge defensive errors. And the Mkhitaryan goal,
Look
I
at
listen. You can always criticise defences for every goal because you don't. If every defence plays well, if you defend well, you never score a goal. It's a game finishes 0-0. But I would like to give the credit more to what I thought was a fantastic team goal and a great finish as well. To be fair, from Dumfries, I thought it was a brilliant team goal. So I'm not so critical on that one, but the other 3, my God, I mean, that's just it's comical. It is. It really is.
Yeah, no, I mean it was beyond comical. It was a joke.
But that brings me on to.
But I just want to say one thing though. I think yes, I understand why Juve fans and Juve feel that the glass is more half full for them because they were, people keep banging on about 4-2. It's just a 2-goal deficit. It's like coming back from 0-2 or 1-3. It's not 4-2 sounds bigger than it's a 2-goal deficit. Juve came back from a 2-goal deficit. That's it. It wasn't 4-0 to 4-4. But the good thing for Juve is, yes, again, they show mental strength like they've done in the Champions League, like they do all the time. He's built a mentality there that they never give up. And that's good. But still,
I want to talk about
you
Danilo.
can't wait. The way that it's great to come back from 0-1 or 1 to 2-1, but to fall apart like Juve did, making those idiotic mistakes from 2-1 to 2-3 is not good enough. And then, if we're perfectly honest, just like against Stuttgart, the goal they're completely wide open for about half an hour, and if Inter are a little bit more clinical, that's 5-2, 6-2, game over. So they got away with one there. So yes, I understand that if you come down from a 2-goal deficit to equalize at the death, you're obviously going to be more positive, and it's more positive for you. But if I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, I'm concerned for both of them. They don't right now. Neither of these 2 teams look like Scudetto.
Yeah, Motta definitely played. They played more open than usual in this game. Even especially when they were 4-2 down, it was kind of un-Motta like the way that they played so open. But I mean, we have to talk about the individuals in defence, and in particular one man in particular, and that is Danilo. I mean, it's quite clear now that this guy is completely finished. I mean, for starters, the joke of the penalty conceded for the kick on Thuram, but just his defending in general in this game. I mean, he's just not at the pace. He's just off the pace. He's 1 yard behind everyone else in the way, and that was shown with the penalty. He moved much slower than Thuram. He was 1 yard behind Thuram, and that's just kind of how he's playing all the time right now. He's a yard behind his opponents. That was the same thing in the Stuttgart. The penalty he conceded against Stuttgart. He's conceded 2 penalties this week. He's had a horror week. 2 penalties conceded, a red card. He's just a step behind. He should have got a yellow right at the start of the game when he was too late for a challenge, and he totally took out. I can't remember who it was. He took one in player out in like the third or fourth.
Thuram, I think it was Thuram.
Because he's too late to the challenges. He's 33, so he's not ancient, but he's like obviously aged really, really badly. And I mean, my opinion on him. I've never considered him a Juventus level player, and it triggers me when I see Juventus fans that are like, oh, Danilo's, they consider Danilo as like a key player for Juventus. That for me, if you've ever considered Danilo like a key Juventus player or a Juventus level player, you have low standards. because that's not.
Well,
He doesn't.
my issue with him is
He's never been of the standards befitting of Juventus, and now he's even worse. And that Juventus can't play in there. The problem is Juventus have so few options. Like Gatti's out. Obviously, Bremer's out for the season. Gatti's not. They're managing him. He's not fit enough to play like a full game right now. And so like, who else do you play there? Like, there's not really any other options when you don't even have a right back either. Who else do you play? I mean, the only other alternative is maybe you try Locatelli or Thuram. You try and train them into a centre back. I don't know, because there's nothing else you can do. You can maybe play Cabal at left back. But then you play Cabal at left back means you have to play Cambiasso. I'm sorry, you play Cabal at left centre back means you have to play Cambiasso at left back, which means Savona has to start at right back, and then you don't have any other options. And when he played well actually, Savona, when he came on in this game, but he's been poor as a starter in the last few games. So really, Danilo had to play in this game. I don't really see any other alternatives. I don't blame Motta for playing Danilo. Maybe he needs to look at playing the centre midfielder there until January, when Juventus simply have to sign a centre.
Or, well, we do know that my issue is this: Danilo cannot play as a right centre back in a back four. It just doesn't work. He can't do it. If you're going to play Danilo as a centre back, he has to be to the right of a back three. It's as simple as that. Doesn't work. He doesn't know how to interpret the role. He doesn't know what he's doing. He looks just off it, clueless, like a buffoon.
Well, that's not going to happen. They're not going to go to a back three.
So the issue is, you just cannot play him in a back four. I think that's the issue. He doesn't know how to interpret the role, and at the ripe old age of 33 and 34, he ain't going to exactly like learn to interpret that role.
No.
But no, so for me, it's more an issue of that.
Juventus Giuntoli said they.
But yeah, Juventus need to sign a defender.
Giuntoli said they will sign one, and they have to. I mean, that's absolutely clear. I mean, the absence of Bremer is now being seen. The Bremer before Bremer's injury, Juventus conceded 1 goal in 7 games. Since Bremer's injury, they conceded 8 goals in 5 games. So I mean, that says it all, and this is why losing Bremer was so devastating for Juventus's hopes of for their Scudetto challenge. We're seeing the effect that's having in Europe, of course, as well. It's going to be even more, because the level of the teams are going to be, when you play against top level teams like Inter, and like you're going to play more in the Champions League, then you just can't get away with players like Danilo. I mean, they're not even getting away with Danilo against the weaker teams in Serie A. So I mean, yeah, he's finished. He's completely finished. I think that's clear for everyone to see. So that's the criticism. And the defense. I mean, even Kalulu wasn't good in this game either. He's been great. He's been fantastic. He's been a magnificent signing. But he struggled in this game as well. They both struggled. Centre back, and that was against an Inter attack in which Lautaro was not playing well. I mean, Thuram, I thought, was outstanding again, and he caused both of them nightmares in this game, I thought. But yeah, that's the negatives. Juventus fall 5 points behind Napoli, which obviously is a blow. You can't let Napoli pull away, but I think it was important that Juventus stayed in touch with Inter. Inter remain only 1 point ahead. And as we'll come on to with Napoli, Napoli have a tough run coming up now. So the hope is that for Juventus, that the Napoli can maybe drop some points in this next sequence, and they can get a little bit closer to Napoli. But it was important to stay in touch with Inter, because if Inter pull 4 points away, 4 points behind Inter, 6 points behind Napoli, then you risk really being falling too far behind to really still be a challenger.
I don't think it's that big of a deal to fall 4 or 5 points behind Napoli in match day 9, because I don't think 4 or 5 points is that much, to be perfectly honest with you. I think that it's unfortunate, of course. You don't want to do that, but you also have to take into consideration that it's 29 games left to play. Napoli have only, if we look at the games that they've played, they've played Juve, but other than that, they've played Verona, Parma, Cagliari, Bologna, Monza, Como, Empoli, Lecce. Okay? So next games coming up are Milan away, Atalanta at home, Inter away, Roma at home, Torino away. And then they got Lazio after the international break. So I'm not worried about like having being 4 points behind Conte after Conte has played bottom half teams except for Juve. I mean, I'm really not a mid-table teams. I'm really, really not that worried from a Scudetto point of view. But if I'm Antonio Conte and I looked at that game yesterday and knowing how meticulous and how detailed and how obsessive he is when studying his opponents, it was Christmas Eve last night for Conte. He was thrilled.
He would have been thrilled, and the other reason he'll be thrilled is because his Napoli won again, and they.
No, he looks at those. He's looking at Inter and Juve, and he's going, "Oh my god, I'm gonna have fun with these when I play them." Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's like he's rubbing his hands, going, "Oh, I'm gonna have some fun."
Well, yeah,
Because
Well, let's move on to Napoli's game. They win again against Lecce, 1-0. They find a way to win, 0-0 with 20 minutes to go, and then Di Lorenzo forces a scrappy goal over the line from a corner. And he does it in a game where he actually rotated the attack as well, rested Kvara and Politano. And I mean, listen, look, Napoli did deserve to win this game. They were the better team. They had a lot of shots, but they actually struggled to create clear big chances before the goal. And this easily could have finished 0-0, but they find a way. That's what Conte teams seem to be. That's what they seem to be doing right now. They find a way to score in any way possible. And this game is with off a corner. And I want to praise Di Lorenzo first because I think you said it before. You said Conte will bring him back to his best, and
no
he
doubt.
has. I mean, he's been fantastic this season. Do you know how many? He scored 5 goals this season now in all competitions
And
at the
he's
club and
playing
country.
him as a right centre back or a full back, which is his natural position. And it's more of a, if you look at how Napoli transition, he plays as a full back or as a right centre back in a back three, which is where he should play. And Buongiorno and him are the players that have improved the most, in my opinion, under Conte so
Well, even
far.
Rahmani's got back to his best. I think
Yeah.
they've all the defence.
Yeah, but we know about Rahmani. Rahmani is a
Rahmani had a bad
fantastic.
season last season without
Yeah, no, but listen, we know about Rahmani. Rahmani is Robin to Batman. He needs Batman next to him, whether it's Koulibaly or whether it's Kim Min-jae. If he has someone who can hold his hands, he's a serviceable player. He can't lead a defense, but when he's got Buongiorno, who saved a goal again, clearance off the line yesterday. When someone of that quality next to him, he shines. So I'm not surprised at all about that. But
I mean, talking about defences though, Nima. I mean, we talked about Juventus and Inter defended not like Scudetto winners at all. Napoli have now conceded 1 goal in the last 7 matches. I mean, that is Scudetto winning form.
That's Antonio Conte. That's Antonio Conte things, and it's I'm not surprised. He is, if nothing, that man knows how to compact up a team. He knows how to tighten them up. But for me, it would be like we have to mention that penalty that was not given to Napoli is one of the most insane decisions. I don't understand how they saw that and they didn't give that penalty. I just don't get it. I gave a throw in instead to Lecce. It was insane. I don't think you're even allowed to do that in wrestling. Like it was insane. It was a flattening of I think it was Neres or it was Engonge who headed the ball away, and he got completely flattened in the penalty area. And to me, that's just astonishing how that wasn't a penalty. There was nothing on the ball. The ball was already away. It wasn't even close to. It was crazy, absolute crazy. But so no, Napoli deserved to win. But this is the part of the year we've seen this with Conte. Around this time, the enthusiasm wears off, and it starts to get a little bit difficult, and they start grinding out the results if they're going to do well.
Well, the acid testers now. They've built up a nice lead at the top. They're in good form. They're not defensively. They look really, really solid. They're finding a way. But now, the next 4 games are Milan away on Tuesday, Atalanta at home at the weekend, So 2 games in 1 week, 2 tough games in 1 week. We know Conte struggled with that, all his whole career. Then Inter away, and then Roma. Well, maybe we shouldn't count Roma as a tough game right now, but Roma at home, 4 big teams on paper. So I think, listen, we'll know more after the end of this 4-game run exactly where Napoli are. Are they the real deal? Are they? I mean, if they come out of those 4 games and they've still got like a 4 or 5 point lead,
Then it's different. Then it's
then we can
different.
start maybe calling
Then
Napoli
it's different.
favourites.
Because again, they've played Lecce, Empoli, Como, Monza, Cagliari, Parma, Bologna, Verona, and Juve. Those are the teams they've played. Now they're, like I said, they're playing Milan, but they're playing a Milan who will be missing players because the circus we saw surrounding whether or not the game should be played, shouldn't be played, should
What
be
a
played, shouldn't be
circus
played.
that was.
I mean, it's just madness to me that they don't have a contingency plan after COVID still in place for natural disasters. It's astonishing, or unforeseen events, regardless if it's a natural disaster or whatever.
This is Italy.
It is still
Nima,
astonishing
this
to
is
me.
Italy, Nima.
No, but this is astonishing to me that they do not have a contingency
I also
plan.
loved how people that have no authority calling off games as well.
Well, the mayor of the city he can absolutely.
But you know what I
call off
mean,
the
like the
game.
way that the whole process works.
No, but his responsibilities towards his citizens, if he feels that he can't guarantee safety,
yeah, but
of
how
people,
that everything is not aligned, like it gets called off with others out without even knowing that the game's been called off, and it's just complete chaos.
No, but for me, it's a Serie A thing as well. Like they should understand that when there's been a severe, serious flood where people have died, and which is the case in Emilia Romagna, it's been a horrible situation, right? And you have that situation. You should be aware that there is a risk that this game could be called off, or that it can't be played with a crowd, or that you need to find a neutral venue. Well, for the love of Christ, you should have that contingency plan in place, because now, when's this game going to be played?
No,
February?
They reckon January or February. Yeah.
I mean, it's dumb. And of course now Milan go into this game with key players missing against Napoli.
Teo Hernandez and Reinders are out for this game. So I mean, from Napoli's point of view, that I think it adds to the feeling right now that and I'm not going to call them lucky, but the feeling that just the little things seem to be go Napoli's way right now. That could change, but up until this point of the season, little things have been going their way. The penalty, the ridiculous penalty they got to be, who was it against? Empoli, wasn't it? Which was just a scandalous penalty. They got to win that game. Then, Inter versus Juventus finishing as a draw. Perfect. Winning a game with a corner. I mean, some of this is you make your own luck, but just the little things seem to be going their way. And even this, the Milan game gets called off, and Milan are without their two of the most important players for the match. And so right now, everything seems to be going Napoli's way, but they're gonna have their real big test.
No, absolutely, 100%, and I agree with that. It's literally is a case of, it feels a little bit like it's his year, a little bit, a little bit. It feels like it, but then again, like I said, they should have had a penalty against Lecce, but they resolve it. They score a scrappy goal, and Buongiorno made a goal line clearance headed that was just. It was very good.
Yeah, fantastic. Let's move on though, Nima, to let's start racing through the other stuff because we've still got Roma to really dig our teeth into. Atalanta first, thrash Verona 6-1. After failing to score against Celtic in midweek, which was very, very frustrating in the Champions League, they really did let out their frustration on poor Verona. The game was over within 15 minutes, and some brilliant Atalanta attacking, some brilliant goals, brilliant finishing. Lookman and Retegui were the two stars of the show once again. Those two are really forming a great partnership, I think. Lookman, 2 goals, 2 assists. Retegui, 2 goals. He's now up to double figures, 10 goals for the season in Serie A. You predicted, I have to say, you were the first to predict this anywhere. I soon jumped on the wagon about a week after because I saw straight away that, I could see it happening. Retegui, is he going to be a Capocannoniere? I think
there's no doubt about that. And the reason why I said that is because this was before having watched him this season, where he has taken huge steps of improvement, which we haven't seen before. His hold-up play, his link-up play, his movement in build-up. putting players into position. That's things we haven't seen before from him. But what we had seen from him was that aerially he's a monster and he's a killer in the box. And my thinking behind that was, well, if you're a killer in the box and you've got an Atalanta who creates so many chances, you're just going to, by virtue of the odds, have so many chances to score. And he's a penalty taker. So for me, it was a no-brainer that he was going to be the capocannoniere. However, now I'm thinking, after 10 goals in 9 games, or, I'm thinking, are we potentially looking at someone who can break Gonzalo Higuain and Ciro Immobile's record at 36? Because he's looking like a monster. I know people are saying, well, we said the same thing about Lautaro and Victor Osimhen the last 2 seasons, and that's fair, we did. But the difference is that, of course, that Napoli won the Scudetto in March, essentially, and jogged home for the rest of the season. Inter won the Scudetto in March, and Lautaro and Inter were on holiday for 3 months afterwards. Atalanta don't have that luxury. They're not going to win the Scudetto. And they're going to have to fight until match day 36, 37, 38 to secure their title, to secure their seasonal objectives of top 4. So they don't have that objective. And if he can be injury free, he's going to be one of those players, he's going to have to fight all the way to the end. And that to me suggests, especially towards the end in the Serie A, when you reach April, May, and you play against these Empolis and Cagliaris who've avoided the drop, they go on holiday. So there's goals to be had.
Yeah. I agree. And he takes the penalties as well.
As like I said, he takes the penalties as well, even though he missed one against Arsenal. And
Generally, he's a good penalty taker.
Be able to forgive him for that.
Strikes the ball really well.
Yeah, no, he does. No, but I'll probably never be able to forgive him for missing that penalty against Arsenal, because Atalanta was so much better than Arsenal in that game, and it really, really annoyed me that he didn't win that. But no, look, Retegui. If you look at also Lookman and Retegui as well, what a partnership they are. The way that Retegui flicks on and backheels him, and he just comes in there with his technique and pace.
Yeah,
and he's got a shot on him as well. No, Atalanta are just an absolute joy to watch. But above all, Charles de Ketelare. I mean, that goal, did you see it? That is quality.
Brilliant.
That is quality. Only quality players can score a goal.
I thought there was a lot of great goals in this game, actually. Even the goal from Verona was fantastic.
Yeah, it was.
It was a fantastic goal by Sarr. Yeah, Paolo Zanetti under pressure now. 9 goals conceded in their last 2 games. So he needs to watch himself. Otherwise, he could be at risk of the sack. I'll tell you who is at risk of the sack is Ivan Juric. We're recording this on Monday morning. So by the time some of you guys listen to this, there is every possibility that Ivan Juric could have actually been sacked. Because Monday is going to be a very key day for discussing his future, because Roma get thrashed 5-1 by Fiorentina at the Franchi. It was a total mess of a performance. Listen to this, the XG that Fiorentina had in this game, 3.8 XG. I mean, it's a team that looks so broken, so clueless. Tactically, there was just no fight, and as I think it looked like a team that wasn't playing for their manager, and a manager that maybe has lost the dressing room, and that was proven with the halftime substitutions that he made, where he took off Cristante, Angelino, and Mancini. And I'm not sure about Angelino, but Cristante and Mancini didn't reappear for the second half on the bench. They didn't sit on the bench for the second half. So it appears to me that he's lost. He doesn't have the dressing room with him, which is kind of surprising, because it's actually one thing that I thought I would have associated with Juric. But yeah, it was a total mess of a performance. They were so open, which again you don't associate with a Juric team. Juric teams are usually quite good defensively, and it just had the look of the end for Juric. If you just the look and the feel of this game, the look of the players on like Dybala, look at the way that he was looking on the bench when he was taken off. Juric looked like a broken man. I mean,
he should never have been appointed. This is not a Ivan Juric team, and I like Ivan Juric, but I wanted Ivan Juric to take a job where he would have a full preseason, a proper mercato, where he could impose his football. This was stupid, and now there's talk of calling De Rossi and bringing him back. It's like the Friedkins. I'm sorry, but they're completely clueless. They don't know what they're doing.
Well, let me ask you the question. Then. Should the Friedkins, now they're under obviously incredible pressure from the fans. Should the Friedkins sell Roma now? Should they sell Roma? I mean, look at what this summer has been. It's been a horror show from start to finish. I mean, De Rossi was sacked few games into the season in a sacking that was handled so badly, and the CEO, or the former CEO, Lina Suluku, that woman as you call her, was resigned of pretty much straight after because of the abuse and we should say, which we won't condone, the threats that she got from the Roma fans. And but also, if you just look at the way that the whole upper management, not just the CEO, but the sporting director Florent Gisolfi, who came in very, very highly rated from France, by the way. I've known about this guy for a couple of years and how highly rated he is. And I don't want to write him off after one summer because I think he's come into a very, very difficult situation. He was actually wanted by Manchester United as well. He's overseen a shocking summer market. I don't want to put it all on him because there's obviously other people that are involved, but it, as I've discussed, as I've said for since the start, it was a terrible market. The way that they constructed the team and the squad, signing some players that can play in some systems, some that can play in another system. Bringing in Mattia Sule as your marquee signing, and he can't play with Paulo Dybala, and then you play a system that doesn't have wingers, and you bring in a manager that Juric for De Rossi, who doesn't play wingers, and then to make matters worse, then you bring in free transfers like Hummels, who hasn't even played, and comes on against Fiorentina. That sums up everything. He comes on for his debut after Pemozo got sent off, and you're already getting hammered 4-1, and Hummels then scores a bizarre own goal on his debut, 4 minutes into his debut. You've got that. So the transfer market's been a horror show. And then the Friedkins themselves go and buy Everton in the Premier League. So you're now, you're not fully focused on Roma. You're 10th place in Serie A. You have 2 wins in 9 games in Serie A. On the pitch, off the pitch, is the fans are, you've lost the fans. What happens now, Nima? Should the Friedkins sell the club?
If they can't focus and create a structure in place, then yes, because it's a waste of everyone's time. Roma deserve better than this circus, than this complete and utter telenovela that Roma have become now under the Friedkins. I don't think that. I've no doubt that this is not what they wanted. I've no doubt that this is not what they had planned or envisaged for themselves this season. But it's like this keeps happening. Had it not been for Mourinho or De Rossi, this would have happened already a couple of seasons ago. And that's what I don't like. It's the fact that they can't seem to get the managerial roles appointed correctly so that they can start building something. Instead, it's like things are like gaffer taped together structurally on the side of off the pitch. And then they don't seem to have the patience. And Rome, or more importantly, Rome is a difficult place. You're always under pressure. You're always under criticism. There's always something to, it's a very heated piazza. It's a very hot piazza. It's like, Naples, Rome. These places are very, very special places. So you're going to have to be able to handle that. And they seem to be very reactive. And they don't seem to understand that you can't do certain things. You can't just throw De Rossi and Mourinho out to the trash like that, or that reactively. And I don't know how much truth there is to them calling De Rossi back. That would be he loves the club, and if it's possible to recover that relationship, they probably should do that. Now I'm seeing links to Mancini and Sarri. Regardless, again, let's say they appoint Mancini or Sarri. What do Mancini, Sarri, De Rossi, and Juric and Mourinho have in common? That'll be the 4 last coaches of Roma. There's nothing. It's just throwing shit at a wall and hoping something sticks.
Yeah.
Off the pitch, I think they've done some really good things. I think they've done a fantastic job. They've invested a lot, but they don't understand football, and that's fine An owner doesn't need to understand football, but the owner needs to appoint someone who does. Suning did not understand football. They first appointed Sabatini. That didn't work out. They appointed Marotta.
Yeah. The best
And
clubs,
that
best
to
run
me,
clubs.
a good ownership does exactly that. You point the right person in the right place.
Yeah. The best run clubs, Nima, are always the clubs where everything is aligned. That obviously a coach, a manager is very, very important. It's vitally important. But a well-run club is a club that isn't completely reliant on their manager, that can work well and has a system and a structure where the manager, when he leaves, someone else, if you appoint the right manager, can come in and for example, with the transfer market, you're buying players not necessarily for a certain manager or certain, it like Atalanta do. They have a structure that's so well oiled that yes, okay, Gasperini is hugely important, but they bring in a coach who is similar to Gasperini. Well, they have a certain way of doing things. Whereas with Roma, like you said, they jump around from one type of manager to another type of manager to a manager that plays attacking, to a manager that plays defensive, to a manager that plays with wingers, to a manager that doesn't play with wingers. And then when they're buying players that don't suit one or one side of the system or the other. There's no actual structure. It's not streamlined to work in a certain way, which is why it's so chaotic. And then when you bring in Juric, you're bringing in a manager who doesn't even fit those players that you've got anyway. And it's do you know what I mean? It's just a complete mess. There doesn't seem to be any system in place.
No, there is no system
on the football side of things. I should say, on the footballing side, there doesn't seem to be any kind of proper structure.
No, on the pitch. Off the pitch, they've done a really good job. They've done all the right moves. But the problem is on the pitch, they haven't been able to find a sporting director or a sporting... So they don't trust whoever it is. They don't trust that person that they bring on to let them handle it, even when things get tough. And that's the problem here. They seem to like shoot from the hip. And now you've got the Everton thing as well, which will piss the Roma fans off even more. And they're already angry. So no, there's complete confusion, and that's never good. That's never a good place to be. And I think that for me, it's almost inevitable now that Juric leaves. It wouldn't surprise me if Juric resigned himself, because this is just such a shit show. Who they bring in, I don't think it matters, because the problems are still going to be there, and they need to. This season feels like it's already it's over for Roma. It's literally just damage control.
Yeah,
and we're just in October.
Their squad has been constructed so badly that I don't see whoever you bring in can possibly put together a working system that all players are suitable. If you play one system, you're going to have to leave out one or two of your stars.
To be honest with you,
if you play a winger system, Dybala can't play. If you play a system that without wingers, then Sule can't play. So you're already screwed there. You have too much. You have a lack of pace in the team. I mean, how we go back to the Fiorentina game. How on earth, after everything that happened, we're going back to a what? Two players playing behind the one system when it was quite clear early on in the season that wasn't working for De Rossi, and we're going back to what? Dybala and Pellegrini with zero pace behind Dovbyk with zero pace, when it was clear early on in the season that the Roma were struggling so badly. The reason why was because they were playing players that had no pace and there was no speed and everything was central and there was no width. No speed was the reason why Roma had such a disastrous start to the season. And what, we've gone back to that now? I mean, that's also on Juric, but
Juric plays 3-4-2-1. This is, again, it's a stupid appointment. You don't appoint Ivan Juric and don't play 3-4-2-1. That's how he plays his football. Again, I don't blame Juric for being Juric. I blame the Friedkins for sacking De Rossi, not giving him what he wanted in the summer, and then appointing Juric, which doesn't work with the squad at all. Like it's again, it goes back to the fish rots from the head down. Chinese proverbs.
Even defensively, you expect Juric team to at least be good defensively, and they shot in Celik. Can I just say this Celik?
Oh my God!
This guy must be the worst performing defender in Serie A right now. I mean, he's given away, I want to say, goal a game. How many goals did he give away in this game? I mean, the goal he gave away was against Inter was shambolic, the miscontrol, and then the penalty. I mean, the number of shambolic penalties conceded this weekend. I mean, unbelievable. Celik was right up there. That was also Sunday League pub defending at Bedford Park. I mean, that was that was drunk defending. It's really bad. It's really bad for Roma. But Fiorentina are in great form. They've got 5 wins in a row. They've scored 15 goals in their last 3 games. They're up to joint 4th in the table. Palladino's really turned it around, and I want to give credit to Palladino because he's shown that actually he can be adaptable as a manager because he realised it wasn't working. Fiorentina were really, really struggling at the start of the season. They were playing badly and they didn't look like they had anything. He changed to a back four, and since they've gone to a back four, they've been a completely different team. They're free flowing, they're free scoring, they're scoring for fun, and I have to praise Palladino. He realised and accepted that he couldn't play with a back three, even though that was the system that he likes to use, and he went to a back four, and he's made it work. And they have to do that as a manager sometimes. You have to accept that the system that you like playing doesn't work, and you have to be adaptable enough to do it. And he's gone up in my estimation so much by showing that he's been willing to do that, and he's actually in this great run they've gone on, it's actually working. So I have to say, well done to Palladino for that. And he's got a core of players now. And we're talking about the transfer market. We've been very critical of Daniel Prade, but some of his key signings are really, really shining because Moise Kean was again great. 2 goals, won the penalty. He's got 7 in all competitions, and he caused them Roma all kinds of problems in this game. But Bove, I thought it was really, really good in this game. He got a goal and an assist. Great performance. He was kind of everywhere, all action. And then Adley as well is really picking up nicely. And I think he's definitely added something to the midfield. He got the
And
assist.
Bove.
Yeah,
I mean,
both of them, all 3 of those 3 signings, I think, have been really.
Did you see Eduardo Bove's agent has been teasing the ex-Roma CEO Lina Suluku in the comment section on Instagram? Diego Tavano responds to Bove's latest Instagram post saying "Adrenalina."
Well, yeah.
So I mean, obviously, there's something that they're not too happy about that. But yeah, it's. I think Fiorentina finally it's coming together for Fiorentina. After they actually. Okay, 9 goals conceded in 9 games might not be the best, but it's starting to come together. It's looking really, really good, and not just this game, but the fact that, let's be honest, they beat Milan, they beat Lecce 6-0, they beat St. Gallen 4-2. Now they've beaten Fiorentina and Roma 5-1. That's what 15 goals in 3 games, conceding only 3. 15-3 goal difference in the last 3 games. So Fiorentina are an absolute fire, and it's coming together for Palladino, and he's doing what none of his predecessors could do. It seems like in the years where they were there, and he's doing it, and I'm starting to feel that fairly happy about the fact that Fiorentina could finally under Palladino actually win something important and finish in the top 6 where they I know that's where they want to be. Obviously, I want to see Parisi and Coyote play, but Fiorentina want to have success, and if this team gives them success, then great. But yeah, I think they, Yassin Adli, you know how much I love that player. I think he's a wonderful little player. Bov is also a favourite of mine. I think Gorsens has turned out to be a really smart signing as well.
Yeah, that's another one. That's a 4th signing. Prade, we've been critical of him, but his transfer market has worked out. Even Colpani's been a little bit better in recent games as well. He started to chip in. So fair play to Prade. It seems to have done well this summer.
No, he's done well this time around.
I want to praise Komutso, the young. I think he's still a teenager at centre back. He won every duel in this game, and he also got praised by Palladino. Said he's got a big future ahead of him. So yeah, we kind of we might have another promising young Italian centre back hopefully coming through there. So yeah, it's positive times for Fiorentina. Also positive times for Lazio who win again 3-0 against Genoa, and again Nuno Tavares 2 assists in this game. This guy's unbelievable. He's
Yeah,
unbelievable. He is a force of nature. Some of his runs from
are
end to end,
crazy.
like the run he did in the build up to the Noslin goal. I
Yeah,
mean, this guy. I mean, I think you said last week at the end of the season,
no,
Lazio are going to have big teams around Europe trying to sign this guy at the end of the season because he's a bit like Teo Hernandez at his best, isn't he? So far this season, the way that he does those runs and he just drives with the ball and no
but
one
he's
can
more
catch him.
powerful than, and he's only 24 as well.
Hmm.
Like he's powerful. Like it's like he's more. Teo is not, Teo has pace and technique, and so does Tavares. But Tavares is also much more physical presence than Teo is, and his crosses and timing is what really impresses me the most.
Hmm.
So no, he's been outstanding, and if he continues like this, every single team in the Serie A, the top teams are going to be flocking around him. Antonio Conte is looking at that and drooling. So are Inter, so are Juve, so are Milan. Everybody's looking at that and they're drooling
Yeah. Yeah, for
because
sure.
he's unbelievable.
I said it.
He's been the signing of this.
I
He's
said
been
it. I got a lot of stick because I remember when Arsenal signed him, and I said this guy has something, and then it didn't really work out for him at Arsenal. He struggled defensively. He still needs to improve defensively, but I knew that there was a top player there. I knew it. You could see that he has these qualities that the way that especially going forward, the flying kind of fullback. He has those qualities. I could see it at Arsenal, and I'm really happy for him that he's started to show it because there is a really really quality player there. And yeah, I mean he's such a weapon for Lazio, and yeah, Lazio got another good win. And Noslin came in and scored a really really great goal. Uh, Lazio have depth and potential in their attack. I mean, Zakanya's out of this game. Noslin comes in and scores. And then even Pedro at 37 years old is still doing great. He's still going strong. Second goal this week. He scored in the Europa League as well. His second home game in a row in Serie A after that he scored the winner against Empoli. Got 4 this season. He's doing really really well. Ravella as well is having an excellent start to the season. It's the
Mhm.
Ravella that we hope to see when he joined Lazio. Kind of he's always involved, always wants the ball, wins the ball. Um, yeah, fearless kind of player.
I want to raise a little bit of a warning finger, or like a little bit of a warning, watch out for Lazio in the Europa League. I think they can go far. I think, given the structure of this as well, I think they're almost a shoe-in to finish in the top 8, which will give them a bye, if I'm not mistaken, to the next round. And from then on, I look at that, I look at the teams there, and I got to be honest with you, except for Man United and Tottenham, who are a mess defensively, and Frankfurt. But other than that, like most of those teams, Lazio can beat. I really think Lazio can go far in this tournament and
Yeah.
potentially even cause a huge upset by winning it. I really
Yeah,
think
well,
so.
they're actually been rotating their team in the Europa League. They've been playing
Yeah,
mainly like their backups, and like I
yeah.
said, I think it shows actually Lazio have better depth than maybe certainly in attack. Lazio actually have pretty damn good 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 options in attack. They're at fullback. They've got decent backup options at fullback as well. They're yeah, maybe the midfielders they could do with some more with some more depth, but yeah, I think they're doing really really great. And now, do you know how tight it is from second to seventh in the Serie A? Napoli have got the first with 22, but then you've got Inter in second with 18, Juventus third with 17, and then you've got Atalanta, Fiorentina, and Lazio all joint fourth with 16. And then you've got Milan, who've got 14 points, but they've got a game in hand. So they win that game in hand against Bologna. They got up to 17 joint with Juventus. So, I mean, it's so tight from second to seventh now, which is really, really good to see. It's making it for a really kind of exciting Serie A season because we thought it was probably top four or top five. We thought was an absolute guarantee, but now we're seeing actually the likes of Lazio and Fiorentina are actually start showing that they can actually maybe put in a bit of a challenge themselves against these bigger teams. So that's really really good to see, and it's made for I think a fantastic kind of first quarter to the Serie A season.
Absolutely, and no, it's. I'm really really impressed with Lazio. I still think that for me the top four is Milan, Juve, Inter, Napoli. I think those are the top four because I think they're just head and shoulders above everybody else. Even Milan with their problems, I think are just qualitatively too good to mess it up. But the Fiorentina, Atalanta, and Lazio are they're going to give everyone a run for their money because Roma are out. I don't care who takes over, even if Sarri takes over, and I think Sarri is probably their best option because I think Sarri will knows how to handle difficult environments. He's been at big clubs. He knows how to handle a squad not suited to him. But regardless, I just don't see Roma coming back into a top four fight. I just don't see that, no matter who the coach is.
Yeah.
Although I would love to see Sarri at Roma, I think that would be an ideal appointment. But it's regardless. I think the top four is there, but I think the rest: Atalanta, Fiorentina, Lazio. It's a spicy. They can cause upsets absolutely, especially Atalanta. And,
Genoa, though, quick note on them. Obviously, they're going to sign Balotelli now. They've confirmed that he will join officially on Monday or I think Tuesday. We know it's desperation, desperation stuff. But a quick note on that. I mean, yeah, can he help? Can he do anything to save them this season, or are we looking at a Genoa team that looks like it's probably destined to go down?
it's better than what they've got. I mean, they shouldn't be in this situation to begin with. I don't think they're destined for the drop, but they're going to be thereabouts. The teams I'm worried about is Venezia, Lecce, Genoa, Verona. Um, those are the ones I'm worried about. Parma, perhaps, but other than that, but I do think that Genoa will survive. I still think so. I think I'm more worried about Lecce and Verona and Venezia than I am for Genoa. I think at the end of the day, Gilardino will sort it out, or they will sort it out. They have the quality to do so. I think what he will do, Balotelli, is he'll probably create more space for players like Vitinha and Pinamonti to shine and excel, because he can, because of the player he is. But it's a situation they shouldn't have found themselves in to begin with, and now we've understood. Now, after everything that's happened with the owners, we've understood that this is the Genoa fans were fooled, and it's not a good, and Genoa find themselves in all sorts of trouble, and I hope that they can pull out, because again, Genoa, Sampdoria, we want these clubs in the Serie A. The Serie A deserves to have Derby della Lanterna. It's one of the most beautiful derbies in all of European football. So I hope they survive, and I hope Sampdoria comes up.
Yeah, just run down the other fixtures. So Udinese beat Cagliari 2-0. They're right up there as well. Torino beat Como 1-0, and they're also doing well, top half of the table. And then Parma 1, Empoli 1, and Monza 2, Venezia 2. So
We have to talk briefly about Udinese. It's not Lorenzo Luca is starting to really really come to his own. He is an absolute monster, and even in this game, and Keenan Davis as well. I mean, that goal, power, technique, pace, composure, it was brilliant. No, they're looking really really good, and compliments to Costa Runjaic, who's, we had Maduka Okoye on, who said, he's a great coach and he's got them believing in themselves and he's completely different, and he's, you can tell that this is a Udinese side, and pretty much the same players who really believe in what they're doing, and are doing really really well. They're playing some good football. They're solid defensively. They're a difficult team to break down. And Lorenzo Luca up front is a monster. I really think he should be in the Italy squad. I think he's done more than enough to be in the Italy squad.
He made his debut, didn't he?
Yeah.
In recently, yeah. But he's doing great. He's actually been linked to Juventus as well.
I'm not surprised
for
at that
January.
because the way he's such a physical presence, and he's not like Petagna who's heavy. He's actually pretty light on his feet, being tall and big. He's not that kind of boom boom like giant heavy touch like Lukaku kind of. No, he like in terms of movement, he's not heavy at all. He's pretty light on his feet. He's pretty quick. And it's he causes teams problems, and he's turning out to be quite a little poacher as well. So no, I'm really impressed by him so far this season, and we'll see where he goes. But I hope he stays for Udinese until the end of the season at least. I mean, we don't want to. I want these small teams to at least enjoy their stars for one season, not just 6 months.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Right, let's move on to it's a midweek round of Serie A. So I'm just going to read out the fixtures. We've got Cagliari, Bologna, Lecce, Verona, and Milan, Napoli on Tuesday. Empoli, Inter, Venezia, Udinese, Atalanta, Monza, Juventus, Parma on Wednesday, and Genoa, Fiorentina, Como, Lazio, and Roma, Torino on Thursday. There's one game, of course, that stands out among all the rest, and that is Milan, Napoli, which is going to be a huge game in the race for the title. If Napoli win, they will actually go temporarily. They will go 7 points clear at the top temporarily before obviously Inter and Juve play. But in comparison to Milan, they will actually go 11 points ahead of Milan already.
Yeah,
And
and
I
I think
think even
that's
though
the
one of them's a
problem.
game, they have a game in hand. I think you don't make that up on Antonio Conte playing once a week. So for Milan,
No.
this is actually a crucial game for Milan if they actually want themselves to be, fighting for the Scudetto, which obviously they have ambitions to do. Then they certainly can't lose this game. But also they want to really be winning this match to try and lay down a marker that they can be there this season.
Agreed 100%. Nothing more to add to that other than Milan could potentially be out of the Scudetto race by Wednesday. Lost to Napoli, 11 points. Even if they have a game in hand, they're not making up 8 points. So yeah, potentially, yeah. It's not. It's Milan can't afford to lose that game. That's all I'm going to say, because yeah, no, they can't. They just can't afford to
Game,
lose
yeah.
that game.
And we'll see
Yeah.
we'll see who the manager is for Roma in the last game of the midweek round against Torino. Right, let's finish off with Baggio, Premface and Serie Ass of the week. So Baggio for me is Juventus or Inter versus Juventus. I mean, for the neutrals, the spectacle. I mean, just a magical game. Let's celebrate the beauty of that game rather than the defending.
Or lack thereof.
The lack of defending. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was fantastic to see. So let's.
It was an entertaining round. I mean, just to set for me, it's the Serie A. The goals galore. We've seen so many goals and good goals in the Serie A this weekend. I mean, even Monza Venezia had 4 goals in the first half. Like it was absolutely mad. Crazy. I mean, 6-1 Verona, 5-1 Fiorentina. No, it was, and even games like Napoli, Lecce, and Torino Como that finished just 1-0. There were loads of chances in those games, so it was a very, very entertaining weekend.
Yeah, it really
Sure.
was. Prem face of the week. I have one. It's our good old friend Inula Aluko, who was a pundit on the game between Tottenham and I'm sorry, I can't remember the game they played. Tottenham against a team in the Europa League. Richarlison scored a penalty, a Panenka penalty, and Aluko called it a Panaka penalty. Oh my gosh, she really is so bad. It's actually quite embarrassing that she's still, I don't want someone to lose their job, but it's embarrassing that she has a position on TV. She's every single week, she makes gaff after gaff after gaff. She doesn't have a
I
clue.
got one sent in from one of our patrons, Luke Taylor, who I I've not heard it, and I don't think he's lying because I know he isn't. But I need audio evidence of this. So if anyone's listening and have got it, please tag me on social media at Nima Tavrud, because I need to hear this. Apparently, the commentators in the Newcastle Chelsea game said that Cole Palmer is in the same conversation as Gianfranco Zola.
That might be possible, actually. That's true, because after the game, Cole Palmer was asked about Gianfranco Zola, and did he, how much of a great player he was, and Cole Palmer says he'd never seen him play. But he did say that. But he did say, and this just sums up some of the younger generation, doesn't it? Non rant coming on now. That he said that he had seen him play on FIFA, and that he was an icon, like an icon on FIFA, a FIFA icon. Like, so he goes, he must have been a great player because he was a FIFA icon, so, which was brilliant. But I actually do now have another Premface, which has just come to mind, and that is James Maddison. It's called Mickey Moore, the new Neymar. He said he played. he said he played like Neymar in that same Europa League match as well. He called him the new Neymar. Which was quite amusing, because then at the weekend, Mickey Moore is actually a really, really talented player. I don't want to take the piss out of him. Like, I watched him at youth level, and he is really, really talented. But it was quite amusing because at the weekend, Mickey Moore made his first start for Tottenham, and he everybody was obviously talking about him being the new Neymar and giving him the big preview to the game, and he was playing against Crystal Palace, and in that game he had, read it out, 0 goals, 0 assists, 0 shots, 0 chances created, 0 successful dribbles, 0 accurate crosses, 0 final third entries, 0 touches in the box. So yeah, not really the new Neymar.
Stop. Cole Palmer, Gianfranco Zola conversation. New Mickey. Oh God. Oh.
Mickey Moore as well. He just has that name that wants to make you. That just sounds like Premface kind of name, doesn't he? Mickey Moore.
Mickey Moore. He does. You can literally
best
just
in
see
the world, but the new Neymar, best player in the world, Mickey Moore.
What's his name? My good friend who I love. Like, you got the mask on. I always forget his
Martin
name.
Samuel.
Yeah, Martin. I can just literally hear him say that. He's the new Neymar. He is.
Love it. Right, Serie Ass of the week. I have 2. First of all, Simone Inzaghi.
I love this. I love him for this.
Simone Inzaghi going full on Max Allegri. People comparing Thiago Motta to Max Allegri. I mean, he put that to bed with that 4-4, but that awful defending. But Simone Inzaghi saying when people were complaining about him not giving into youngsters a chance, he said that they need to learn their apprenticeship in Serie. They need to serve their apprenticeship in Serie C, like him and his brother Pippo did.
Yeah, we first were in Serie C, then Serie B, then Serie A. I love that. I absolutely love it. I absolutely love that. And I love how that triggers
It really did trigger me. Someone put it in our group, didn't they?
I got to say, Lele Adani is just, he's a walking Serie Ass.
What's he done now? I like Lele Adani.
I like him too, but
I think his tactical analysis is really, really good. But
he is, but he's over the top.
What's he done now?
He had this on, I think it was on TikTok or whatever he did or put up, something about some weird, passionate, crazy, big-eyed rant about how sex and football are the same.
Oh, okay. All right, okay.
I mean, I don't know where this clip was from, and it felt like it was AI, but it wasn't. He's literally talking about the passion in football and the passion in sex, and then the climax in football when you score a goal, and the climax in sex. And he was just
maybe he's been watching too much Train Spotting.
Yeah, I don't know what he's been watching, but it was just so weird and so stereotypical, and just it was too much, man.
Yeah, he can be a little bit of a fanboy sometimes. Like
You reckon?
when he gets excited about like
You
Messi or
reckon? Like during the World Cup
like
when he's sitting there with an Argentina shirt on,
yeah,
commentate? I mean, come on,
yeah.
it's embarrassing.
Messi
Be a
does a
bit
sideways
professional.
pass and he literally does what you just described. Like,
Well, yeah, he does. No, it was
the
very,
other
very
Serie A ass
cringe.
of the week is Roberto Mancini, sacked as Saudi Arabia manager just over a year after leaving the Italy job. And he goes to take the money in Saudi Arabia. And I mean, I guess he'll still get a nice payoff from Saudi
Yeah,
Arabia. But yeah, he really did bad there. Really, 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 really bad performance. And he's just the way he held himself. We know he's a very
special
volatile
person.
person. And
Mm.
the way that he kind of, pissed off the fans. I think he didn't he give the flip the finger to the Saudi Arabia fans or
He just walked off before the penalty shootout
yeah,
was
but he
done in
did
the
it last
Asian
week in
Cup.
his last match as
Yeah,
well. I don't know if he flipped the finger, but he had an argument with Saudi fans that were criticising him.
yeah, but he was miserable. He was unhappy there. He was not happy there at all. And Mancho is, as we've seen his entire career, he's the kind of guy who needs to be happy, often on the pitch. He's a little bit like Balotelli. When he's not happy, he's miserable.
Mm.
Um, and it's a bit like Mourinho and Conte. When they're not happy, they don't have kind of this diplomatic middle gray area. They're either really happy or they suck the energy out of a room by just walking into it. Like there's no in between with them. And he was not happy there. It was evident early on, and the Saudis are thrilled to get rid of him. I mean, I've spoken to many Saudi journalists who are like, "Yeah, love the guy as a coach before, but we're very happy to see him go." Like he was horrible.
Mm.
He was just a toxic person. They used the word toxic about him.
Yeah,
Everything about him was toxic. I think what's next for Mancho after a little bit of a break is being linked to the Manchester United job. I think it's
he
just
already has been.
well, there you go.
he,
There you go.
he
I
already
haven't
has
I
been.
haven't
Yeah,
followed it,
he
but
already has been.
yeah,
Yeah. Okay,
I think
let's.
Mancini being free means
Well, it's whether he'll do that
Manchester.
to City. It's the same with the Roma job, isn't it? It's just whether he'll do that to Lazio.
Yeah, I don't think he
Having
cares about City as much as he cares about Lazio.
yeah.
But
Well, we'll
I
see.
that
He is very much loved at City, and with that investigation going on, in which he's very heavily implicated, he might not want to piss them off. So we'll see. Right. Yeah, let's leave it at that. Thank you, everybody, for listening. We will be back again for a Q&A episode. Probably will come out on Wednesday, and then we will have the Thursday episode, which will be a
a midweek review of the
reaction
Serie
to
A.
the Tuesday and Wednesday games. Yeah.
Yeah, a midweek review of the Serie A. I'm previewing the weekend's action as well.
Yeah.
The games are, we're fully on. The season really starts now. That's how I feel. Like now, the season really starts. There's games every 3 days, and it's important games. And yeah,
Yeah, for sure. Thanks everyone for listening. Have a good week. Ciao, ciao.